So this piece of music had a lot of different moments within the main structure. The main structure came together in a more repetitive circular form once we really hit the quarter note tempo on it. But the harmonic sequence was happening from the beginning, but just the pacing of it is put together by how you play. And then little elements of what you play cue things. Little melodies would cue out of certain keys into a new key. So as I'm playing along and trying to create the piece of music we're playing, instead of counting something off and just repeating on a form and trying to play something that you've practiced, the music is all there. Now it's how you put it together in an overall structure and form, to play with a flow of ideas from phrase to phrase, and to cue people by simply playing melodies, to create melodies. I tried to write a piece that had those things in it, so that each time we would play through that movement, it would take different shapes, different tempos, different rhythms, different kind of accents would happen. Any questions or comments about that way of playing? Well, because all notes are related, and all intervals create, every two intervals can create new tone colors and suggest new keys. It's like to use one note to change its meaning in what you play. Let's say just an E. Okay, at the beginning, it's the E is the root. But then when you make that E the flat 5, you're in another key. When you make that E mean the 7th, major 7th, you're in another key. You know? So to try to develop ideas with the awareness of the tonal color you're in, that piece has a lot of that in it, you know? And really inspired by the way Coltrane developed harmonically and on his horn, and Ornette Coleman's music, you know, the way Keith Jarrett plays, the way a lot of piano players develop voicings from within the harmonic sequence or the harmonic sound of any particular chord, you know, to feel the relationships with intervals, and to try, you know, to put it together in a melodic way. I've been playing this Borgani saxophone since 1999 or so. This particular horn the last 3 years. But I found, like, tone-wise and the different colors that I can reach for are really very present on this horn, harmonically, you know. It has a real deep sound. I put together the idea of the silver, the pearl silver with gold keys. Years ago, the Kahn saxophones, the Chu Berry model in particular that I used to play, had a gold bell with silver body. Super 20 King, which I used to play on also when I was younger, also had a silver neck and gold keys and a gold body with silver keys. So I put some different ideas together, and I think I've created a horn that has a a dark brilliance, all in one. And the company is in Italy, in Macerata, and it's a small little company. There's 12 people that work there. So I've been to the factory, and the brass is like hand-pounded brass. It's not machined. So each horn has its own kind of vibrations in them. And I've been really enjoying playing on it. And I think it's really led me into having the confidence to play at all kinds of different dynamic levels. And also it's a period in my music that's developing also in more open, expanded ways as well, you know. But I find these horns really beautiful. It's a bigger bore up here, yeah. Mm-hmm. I've had different necks on these horns, and like a neck that would fit a Mark VI is very loose in here. This is open here, you know. And it also, it doesn't have, it's made more like an earlier horn where it's a straight action. Like most horns since the balanced action in the Mark VI, Selmer, this hand is turned a little bit, and the bell has a different angle on it. This is more of a straight action, like an early balanced action, or a Kahn, or a King, or a Busher, actually, the earlier horns. And then this particular horn, this bell is different. They did something here. It kind of flowers up and flares out a little to the right. So when you're holding the horn, it has a different kind of an angle to the bell, and the sound really projects up a little different, I find, you know. Now I also did some stuff with my neck. I had them angle my neck up more. So I'm playing down into the horn instead of up into the neck. So that also, for me, has given me a different kind of direction in the airflow. And I feel I can put the horn more out in front of me when I'm playing. And I fill the space with a different kind of feeling. I don't know. For me, I'm not sure it means anything for anyone else. But that's the thing with when you explore and play alone a lot, you have to find ways of playing and find that comfort and the way to hold a horn, too. I used to practice a lot without a strap, you know, to play. So you really hold a horn. Then when you put the strap on, you try to find that same thing. You know, so the strap's not holding you and you're feeling like confined by anything. You know? I started doing that after watching Joe Henderson play. Because Joe would play, and as he went down the horn, he'd pick the horn up, and I'd notice his strap would be like this. He'd be like... You know, I started watching him, and his strap would be like real loose, man, sometimes. And I started, wow, look at that, you know? Because he really, like, he was holding his horn, you know? A certain way. And you end up, when you do that, you end up holding your notes, too. Your notes get bigger. Your sound gets more pronounced. And you start to actually feel the notes you're playing as you're playing them, you know, and as you're approaching them. Because the thing is as you're playing, to also have a sensation that you're moving somewhere and you have to arrive there. And that's the whole thing with playing standard songs and playing tunes that move through sequences of chords, is to find the spots and to find the spaces and to find the places to arrive into. A great example of that is these 2 weeks. Last week and this week I'm playing with Bill Frisell and Paul Motion at the Village Vanguard trio, right? Guitar, saxophone, and drums. And we're playing there's a repertoire of at least 20 tunes that we're exploring. Maybe 25, but a good 20 pieces. Some standard songs, some Broadway songs, some Thelonious Monk's music, mostly Paul's originals. I'd say like, at least 60% of Paul's original tunes. And then throughout the sets, we're playing some other things. Okay. So, and as a trio, none of the tunes are too long. Sometimes you play a gig and in an hour set, you might play 4 tunes or 5 tunes. We play like 9, 10 tunes. Sometimes more. Sometimes a tune will just be 2 choruses or something. So to not play with the same approach and attitude whenever you play anything. To feel what's happening at the moment, to try to come off of things that are in the air. Not just the notes of the chord that you're on at the moment. Not just the title of the tune. Sometimes the title of the tune will play you. If you play, you listen to Miles play On Green Dolphin Street. Every time you play On Green Dolphin Street, that title and the way Miles played it could play you completely. As a soloist and as rhythm section players too. Is the thing is to play from the moment, from what the tune that we just finished had a certain feeling. That now this next piece has to answer that somehow. Even if you play, because with Paul, we'll play 3 ballads in a row. He'll call a ballad and then play another ballad and then call another one. So to try to come at each one with a little different kind of approach and attitude in your rhythm, in the statement, the way you can shape the melody with variation. It's all about developing, for me, it's always been about developing an approach where my imagination was key with the material, And I think through the years, that's why I've played in a lot of different settings with a lot of different players in all different generations and from all different perspectives in the world of music, And also, it's a way of learning how to play, too. If you learn how to play a specific tune from learning someone else's solo on it first, then you're going to end up playing someone else's solo all the time, man, on that tune. It's like learning how to play on giant steps. Of course, you're going to listen to Coltrane's solo, and you're going to learn things that he did, and the way he played, and the energy, and the whole flow, and try to reach for that continuous energy. But you have to study those harmonic sequences and how to modulate from one key to another, and realize that Coltrane was playing those turnarounds on every tune he was playing on. And then he put Giant Steps together as one piece with those devices, let's say. But he was using all those turnarounds when he was playing on Oleo or Walkin' or any of the blueses or on So What with Miles. You know what I mean? It was like deeper than just that tune. It was like a way of playing and a way of modulation, which is a deep study. And he probably felt he was just scratching the surface as deep as he was into it. You could hear it throughout his whole playing, man, right from earlier, mid-50s, all the way through till the end when he passed. His last couple of recordings, he was reaching and playing in all those harmonic, with all those harmonic ideas. You know? Well, first of all, you have to always reevaluate your playing. And no matter how much you think you're playing, to be checking out cats that make you feel like you ain't playing anything. Not just on your horn. On piano, on drums, bass players, you know? For me, it's always been about knowing who's on the scene with me at the moment. Like right now, who's playing? Who's standing on their own 2 feet out here and playing? Okay? Knowing how everybody's playing on every instrument and feeling strong about who you are as a player and personality, and you could sit in and play with everybody or whoever, you know? I came to New York, I immediately went and sat in with all kind of people, like Chet Baker, Rashid Ali, Elvin Jones, you know, whoever I could play with. I always had my horn with me. Dave Liedman's bands. Situations, right? And then you have to not only know what's happening right now, you have to know what's happened since the beginning. Because even though a John Coltrane is not walking these streets right now, he laid it down the way he did. And we all have to deal with that still. Because there's all these, especially in the way records are coming out, and I mean, they're putting out reissues and finding radio broadcasts from one night in September in Chicago that was steep that you have to deal with. That's today. That's as long as you're alive, he's alive. To me, you know, and how you perceive yourself and deal with the situations and the different bands you could be in and the different people you could play with. That's why I love to play with so many different people. I created a situation to play with Hank Jones, which I never thought I would do in my life. He's on my last 2 records, and we just did a duet record together, live at Dizzy's Club, Jazz at Lincoln Center, that's going to come out in May. Just playing duets with Hank, man, it was like incredible. It changed my whole, not that it changed my playing, it just gave me a lot of confidence to deal with where I'm at and try to be a different player for the moment with him. Because at the same period, I'm also playing with McCoy Tyner recently and doing stuff with him. It's a total different energy. We could play the same tune. It's going to be a completely different trip as far as the sound, the energy, the tempo, the rhythm of it all. I might feel like I played something really poetic with Hank. When I play with McCoy, that same kind of tempo or tune it's going to have a different kind of attitude and a different thing. You know what I'm saying? There's all kinds of ways to play. So to be free on your instrument so you can execute ideas within the music is what I've always tried to deal with, you know? And knowing who's on the scene with you, knowing your peers, knowing everybody. You play tenor saxophone.
Yeah.
You're on the scene right now today with some incredible, serious cats. You know? All generations, okay? You're 23, but you have to deal with cats in my generation. The Michael Breckers. Dealing with Michael Brecker all these years for me has been a trip. To find my own way, my voice. Almost 95% of my peers try to play like him. They'll never do it, man, because they're not serious enough. He practices and plays all day, all day, all day to play the way he plays. Now, I do too, to play the way I play, not to play the way he plays. You practice trying to play the way someone else plays. You're 50 years old before you know it, and you didn't even touch anything. You didn't even say anything. So there's a way to know your surroundings and have your own way of playing, man. And you know who inspired me like that is all these, the Joe Hendersons, the Wayne Shorters, who Joe and Wayne emerged under Sonny and Coltrane. Wayne and Sonny are the same age. Wayne today plays like a 20-year-old cat, man. Because it's about his imagination. It's about his approach and how to play with whatever surrounding group he's in. It's not like even though he's he's got amazing technique and virtuoso on his horn. He plays completely from his heart and soul, in his tone and in his way of playing. You know? Wayne is like serious role model and someone that has just a deep love and passion to be himself, you know. Studying him through the years has been a trip, and to know him also. You know? Joe Henderson too, man. Joe Henderson gave me a compliment one time that was really, really something. It was, I played duets with Gonzalo Rubalcaba, who did a duet record. It's called Flying Colors. Piano and saxophone. I played drums and different things, different horns too. Alto clarinet, some soprano. Anyway, we did a little tour. We played in California at Yoshi's. Joe Henderson came to hear us. And afterwards I saw him, we said hello, and he said, "Man, that was brave." That's all he said. And man, that meant a lot, man. I didn't need him to say, "Oh, wow, you played this, you did that," or whatever. He said, "Yeah, man, that was brave. Thank you." And I was like, "Thank you." You know? I mean, it was, I learned a lot, man. You know, about trying to find your sound, trying to be yourself, to be as expressive as possible in this music. Because that's what's going to give you longevity also. Well, that's going to help your ear. It's going to give you a sense of the tune. If you really not only just transcribe the notes, but really get into the harmonic sequence that those transcriptions are based on, you know. I think to really put them together with your own variations and It's how you learn from it, you know. I was never a real big transcriber. I learned a lot of solos and could sing, them. I could play some phrases that I loved. If I heard Sonny Stitt or somebody play something, I would try to figure some things out. But I never really learned note for note other people's solos so much on my horn, you know. I listen a lot, and I know a lot of solos on players on every instrument, you know. Like I'd sing along with Paul Chambers, you know, or Bud Powell solos, you know. But for me, it was my dad played saxophone, and he really taught me from the beginning about learning tunes and learning melodies, and then creating variations on those melodies within the harmonies of the piece. He taught me like that from the beginning, and then that put me on my way about learning about melody, you know. I don't know, you know, there's a lot of cats who transcribing is the only way to go. But I think that could hold you back too, to me. At the beginning, you have to build your technique by studying the saxophone in all keys, everything. Just arpeggios and scales and technical things, you know, to get the reflexes going, to be able to play in the key of B or whatever key you're in, free. You know, and then once you feel you could get around your horn, then you start getting around your horn when you're playing on changes, because you're thinking changes, you're thinking scales, you're thinking voicings, you're thinking arpeggio, you're thinking all these things that you practiced, but they all swirl together at that point, and then it's your awareness and execution of rhythm that's going to give you technique. Johnny Griffin plays like that because of the rhythm that he's feeling. You know? Same like Wayne, or the way Coltrane played. He had like the deepest sense of rhythm. And you could hear in Coltrane's playing also through his recorded history, the different periods. And you know, we look at it as periods now, but really they were 6 months apart or a year apart, or you know, they weren't that long. They weren't periods. They weren't periods. He had one period. You know, his development and the way he played and his execution was always changing because he was studying and thinking about music all the time, and also putting himself in different settings and, you know, playing with different players. Different, you know, even though Elvin was the main drummer in his band, during those same years, he was playing with some other cats too a little bit. And he played different. And now we're having a chance to hear a bunch of really hip recordings with Roy Haynes on drums during the same period in '63 and '64 and some of those years. And Coltrane played with a different kind of attitude when he played with Roy Haynes. He didn't have that same kind of, him and Elvin had a parallel drive. With Roy Haynes, there was a different kind of dance that happened. And his playing was different because of that. When he played with Arthur Taylor on drums, man, there was a different kind of rhythm. He was a real eighth note. The way that the beat was made him play a certain way. The way he played with Ed Blackwell on drums. One record with Don Cherry and Charlie Hayden, Percy Heath, the Avant-Gardes. Very different, man. 1960, 1959, right those years. Same time he was going into the Giant Steps record with Arthur Taylor, you know. 6, 8 months later, Elvin's playing with him. There's a different kind of thing that happened. It's about rhythm. He wasn't just playing the same things on the chords. Because how many times are you going to play on a C7 chord in your lifetime? What's going to make you play something different on it is the feeling of the beat, the rhythm, the whole essence of what came before it and where it's leading to and all that. So your technique, you have to develop your technique as deeply as you can. So you can get around your instrument, and then you could step back and play with feeling. And when I say play with feeling, I mean play with the feeling of what's happening in the music at the moment. Well, as you're developing in that way of playing, you're searching, you're trying to always put it together with clarity, you know? So if we played that again, you would start to hear it a little different, you know, the second time, because for you, that's something new, you know? What got me into playing in more freer, flowing rhythm was listening to piano players play introductions. Listen to Barry Harris play an introduction to whatever tune he was going to play in a rubato kind of way. Or to dig Kenny Barron play an unaccompanied chorus on Stella by Starlight. Free. The sequence, the melody, that all happens in its order, right? But the feeling of the way he would flow through that, I started to think about that. And when I took my horn out at home, I started to play, if I played on Stella like that. You know? Like, no, that's okay. Two choruses of the tune in kind of a free rubato way. You know, when I started to really practice like that, every tune that I think or I thought I knew, I started to really learn. And then when I go and play at whatever tempo, I'm free in that. I could play any kind of, I could take a different approach with every chorus or whatever, you know what I mean? But melodically, the melody's always with me. The bass line's always with me. Harmonic rhythm of the bass, I'm trying to really be solid with that. And then to try to voice out things that are happening in the harmony. but with the sense of rhythm and melody, to feel what you're playing and to make it, to have it be some kind of storyline. You know? Question and answer approach. So to say something and then to answer it in the next phrase. You know? Like if I play it on... So I don't know, something like, that's what that would, just thinking about that question and how to play to answer that. That whole phrasing idea is really what, when they talk about someone was saying something, they're saying something to you from the phrases they're playing. Each note are like words. Phrases are groups of words together, you know. It's like, you know, when they talk about lyrics, and do you know the lyrics to the song and all that? There's a lot of songs we play, they don't have lyrics. The tunes we do play that have lyrics, the lyrics are a poem. So I don't know the actual lyrics to all the songs that I play. But I'm trying to play with that kind of attitude and approach of a poem, to rhyme what you play somehow. And that's about phrases, you know? Like the title, I Love You, that song. There's a lot of ways to say I love you. You can say I love you. You could say, I love you. You know what I mean? There's a lot of ways to say the same words. It's about your attitude and approach and the feeling of how you say it. You know what I mean? So tension and release, that whole question-answer thing. In jazz, all those little imageries and all those things is what makes the music, man. That's why Charlie Parker played like that. You know? And it's also feeling to play a counterbalance with people, too. Sometimes if you're playing fast against somebody playing slow, there's something happening there. You know? Sometimes you play fast together. Sometimes if I hear a drummer that's playing some real technical things, I'll play simpler and try to fit in on it. You know what I mean? So you have to be aware of what's going on around you, too. I mainly work on my horn, but I work things out on drums a lot. And I'll sit at the piano and play voicings and sounds and colors. I play a lot of woodwinds, clarinets. I have a whole collection of wood flutes. I have a koto, like a Chinese harp, that I play and love to meditate and hear tonalities and sounds on that. You know, so yeah, I fool around on a lot of different instruments, and I've had a chance to record and put things down with some people through the years. I have a whole collection of gongs, for example, from Japan and China and Africa and all over the place that are incredible. If you have 10 gongs set up in a room, you don't even have to touch them. And you play the overtones and you hear tonalities singing out around you and all that, you know. And I've developed a way of playing where I hold a mallet in my right hand and I can play rhythmically on gongs as I'm playing the saxophone. And I've worked out pieces like that, and that's really been an amazing meditation about tonalities and not about technique, not about anything but pure sound, you know. Those moments, for me through the years, have been some very rich moments of practicing. Not to practice practicing all the time. You know what I mean by that? Sometimes you practice and practicing. Then you have to practice playing also. When you start to practice playing more, I think that's when you know, for me, that's when I start to develop what is starting to be my sound, let's say. I don't know. I compose more at the beginning on the saxophone because of the key, because of a lot of reasons. Where I'm going to play it. A lot of times you compose on a saxophone, then I mean on a piano, then you have to learn it on the saxophone. And for me, I'd be limited. My limitations on piano would slow me down. I won't be able to write anything. I could go to the piano maybe after and start to hear a few things I was working on. But for me, I've always worked out things on my horn. And a lot of times on the road with my flute after the gig. I wrote a lot of tunes on flute in the hotel room where you could really play at a whisper in your room, you know. Especially when I've been real fortunate to be on tour with Paul Motion, and be on tour with Charlie Hayden or with John Scofield's band or the Thad Jones, Mel Lewis band, or with Bob Brookmeyer. After like listening all night long and playing some amazing music, to go back to the hotel room and write some ideas out. I would do it all the time, you know. Through the years, I still do that a lot. It's all different ways. Sometimes I'll hear a rhythmic undertone first, and then I'll write a bass line, and then I'll put a melody on it. Sometimes I'll write a melody first and play that melody 1,000 times, and then that'll suggest harmonies. Sometimes I'll write a harmonic sequence first and improvise over those chords for hours, and then write a melody to it. So it's all different, you know. Recently I wrote a couple melodies based on standard chord progression. Like all right, to do this record with Hank Jones, the first record we did, it's called I'm All For You. I wrote an original melody line on the changes of Body and Soul. I had already recorded Body and Soul on another record, so I couldn't really do that title. But I wanted to play those changes with Hank. He played them with Coleman Hawkins and everybody else. So I was a little nervous about it, but I've been playing on that song, Body and Soul, most of my life, trying to learn it. So I sat down and wrote a tune, you know, and a whole new melody line. And I was like a little nervous about bringing it in to play with Hank. And he was so beautiful and accepting, and we played it down, and he was looking at, because I wrote it out, you know. And he said, oh, wow, yeah, okay, you know. And then now it's become one of the pieces, a signature piece in a way for me, you know. So that's an example of taking a chord progression that you know and writing a completely different melody that can flow through those harmonies, that you can play with a different. I play a different solo when I'm playing on All For You, when I'm All For You, than when I'm playing on Body and Soul. Like with Paul Motion, we're playing body and soul. I'm playing body and soul. When I play my tune, I'm playing a different tune. So the rhythms, the melodies, the intervals, all the things that are in the melody that I wrote, I'm trying to explore. And that's another thing, like really listening to Charlie Parker and Diz, those players, that period, they played on a lot of tunes, a lot of the same chord progressions with different heads, different melodies, different tempos, different rhythms, different things. Their solos took shape from the different melody lines that were there, you know? Because in jazz, you will play on very similar structures on some tunes. What's going to make you play a different solo is your attitude and approach about variations of that particular song. Each melody has its own life, its own song. And to try to explore those things, I think makes you a more creative improviser. Well, playing with a lot of different drummers, knowing what the drummers are doing, realizing what piano players are doing. Also, between their left and right hand, they're playing whole notes, half notes. They're playing big beats in their left hand, and more quarter note, eighth notes on top, triplets, different things. You know, to feel as a single note player, to feel those things that you might not be doing, but are there. To really, you know, and also to, when you're practicing, to feel the difference. If I play off a quarter note tempo, right? Okay, if I play on. Dig, I'm playing in a certain focus on that beat. My eighth notes feel a certain way, playing off the quarter note. If I played off the half note, if I play off the half note, my rhythm is completely different. My accents are different. If I play off the whole note, I played quicker. I had more time. I had like I had one beat for a bar. So I was filling that in a different kind of feeling. So if I played on, you know, so from phrase to phrase, I'm really exaggerating there. But as I'm playing with a group, I'm hearing all kinds of stuff going on around me, and it's influencing how I'm feeling the perspective of the beat. You know, it's like when Diz and Bird, when they played like, you know, on that tune, they weren't feeling like quarter. They weren't playing eighth notes off quarter notes. They were feeling like 32nd notes off the whole note. It'll equal out to the same thing. But the accents and the feeling of it all and the execution of it all is different. So as you're practicing, to try to really tap it out. You have to tap it out and move with it. Well, I like to play in real collective settings, you know, where there's equal balance and creative input, you know. And in my music that I'm trying to write and put together, that's a key part of it, you know, is to have players that can contribute, you know. Yeah, and then you create the piece of music together, like what we play together, you know. To be able to create music, you know. I mean, there's a lot of cats who like to find their comfort zone and count a tune off, and the rhythm section just has to play the role. Like he's about to play the role of a bass player, the drummer, or whatever. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. There's certain cats, and they some great players. They don't want you to get in their way. You know. Plus, the players that play with that approach, though, for me, they play the same solo on every tune. You know what I mean? I mean, there's no room for someone to feed you ideas or.
Well, I was going to say, like in what you were just talking about in the tempo perspective, if you're sitting there and you're ripping into that solo, and then like your drummer went to that great kind of went to an Afro-Cuban beat, and that whole dynamic of what beat he was hitting on changed. Right. And you moved with that.
Yeah.
And I heard, it became more bouncy and more energetic.
At that one moment on that piece.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And without being there and allowing them to be there with you, it seems that a lot of modern musicians are missing that opportunity. Well,
it's in the music too, you know. Some tunes I suggested things. Otis suggested things we heard. We went, you know. The melody itself suggests a certain tempo feel change. You know, the next melody when I changed tempos in the middle of it, and we went into A flat. That suggested more of a swing. You know what I mean? I mean, so it's how you play that's going to direct a lot of that too. You know, but that's kind of in my music. You know, I don't know. To be, you know, I like to say, you know, I don't play free jazz. I play jazz free. You know, and trying to put it together in that kind of open concept. You know, but there's certain players you play with, you find that heavy groove, and you live there. I just did an amazing 4 nights at Birdland with Jimmy Cobb on drums, and Tom Harrell on trumpet, and Cameron Brown played bass. And we played some of Tom's tunes and some of mine that were more open, and the feelings were freer and open. But then we also played Erigen. We played a couple things, man, classic things. To play Olio with Jimmy Cobb on drums was something else. And I mean, you could play 20 minutes as it sails, and you hit a groove and you move with the groove. You don't do things to counteract, just to mess things. Some players mess things up. They jam it up. Oh no, don't do that. Don't do this. Don't. You have to live with the moment and sail with the moment, I believe. You know, and I've always tried to to do that. And then you all of a sudden, then you hit a groove together, and something's happening. It's like there's one record of Coltrane where he says, what does he say? He says, keep a thing happening. He says something to Elvin or something. What was that?
Sonship?
Could be. Whatever. He said something like, yeah, let's keep a thing happening. You know, like once you hit it, let's hit it. Maybe at a certain time in my playing. Yeah. You know, certain, just to learn your technique on your horn, scales, up and down, you know. But I was, you know, one thing that turned me around, I was practicing, I was a kid, you know. I went like, and I was practicing like that on all my scales. My dad came home and he heard me practice, and he came down, he said, oh yeah, Joey, that sounds good, man. And then he grabbed his horn and he went, or something. And then he walked away. And it made me think like, oh wow, no kidding. He gave me permission to like take those same notes in the same order and try to play them with some other kind of thing. I don't know. You know what I mean? So then that changed the way I thought about practicing.
I just want to know if you have something just to keep your technique ongoing.
Yeah, I listen to people play, and I'm playing all the time. To keep your technique going, once you can get around your horn, it's about, for me, it's what really made me start to try to get it together was playing in different keys. Playing the blues through the cycle of fourths. All different tempos. Like 5 choruses in each key. 1 chorus in each key. 2 choruses in each key. Whatever. You know? Thinking about modulation always was a thing for me. To keep my technique happening. And to feel rhythm and to feel the beat like I was talking about. To be able to execute 30-second notes on whole notes. You know? Because playing exercises and repeating patterns doesn't do anything for your music, for the music, really. You start to only do that. And then when you solo, you start to look at chords in a real mathematical way and not in a melodic way and not in a free, rhythmic way. The worst thing about just playing patterns is that there's no rhythm. You could take any pattern book and there's not one rest in the whole book. That's why I never played out of those books. There's not even an 8th note rest anywhere. It's just notes. And I never heard one player that played from that perspective that sounded good.
What about like a Sonny Stitt? What was he doing?
Sonny Stitt? Oh, he was a real melodic, total swinging, incredible player. He's somebody I sat in with Milt Jackson one time, man. I was 20, 21 in Cleveland. And first thing he asked me, how many holes are on that horn? Who could tell me? How many holes are on a saxophone?
21.
Close to 21.
2.
No.
The front one and the end one.
Those are 2 that are on there. It depends if you have a high F sharp or not. No, it was like 28 or 20, something like that. And then he also said, how many C's can you hit? At the time, I could hit three C's. He looked at me and he hit that C. And I was like, oh, yeah, okay. But Sonny Stitt was one of my first real loves on record, man. On alto and tenor. And then I had a chance to hear him up in some clubs my dad was playing in Cleveland with local rhythm sections too. And man, to be in a room with him, his sound, his energy, his flow was incredible, man. Tunes he played and the way he played, you know. But he was a real melodic player, amazing. And on tenor, he really had his own sound going on, you know. And then, of course, the records with Dizzy, Sonny Rollins and him, that one record. And then there's another one with Stan Getz. Him and Stan Getz had the same birthday. They were real tight. They sounded amazing together also. The first double I really got into was the flute. And it was after hearing James Moody and then Rahsaan Roland Kirk, all within the same year. I was in high school at the time, like 11th grade or something. And I went and got a flute, and my dad hooked me up with one of his saxophone player friends that played more doubles and stuff. And I started studying some flute, you know. I always had a clarinet, but I never got into it till after that. But clarinet is an incredible instrument, and just trying to study that. And I'm playing a lot of alto clarinet these days on my new recording. There's some alto clarinet stuff there. I shied away from the clarinet for a long time, but then I really got into it now more, you know. It really expands your range, and it's also just that woody kind of deep sound that you can project on a clarinet. Really, it helps your saxophone playing, you know, tone-wise. You know. I love Dolphy, sure. Yeah. Oh yeah, and to reach for some of the intervallic things that he was playing rhythmically, you know, and some of his tunes are just some amazing pieces of music, you know. Well, I think just your overall approach to the speed of the air and trying to feel the pianissimo and the real pianissimo sounds into the double and triple forte sounds, and to try to balance within that wide range of tonalities. So there's real similarities from with the saxophone family and the woodwind family as far as that goes, you know. To really feel the speed of the air is a key for me about sound and projection. To play at pianissimo volumes, it's like I'm playing the same amount of air as when I'm playing. It's just I'm moving the air at a different speed. When I'm playing really soft, I'm oozing that air through the horn all the way through. And when I'm moving at a louder, much a forte sound, I'm just feeling the energy. Not just picking a horn and blowing the same way you blow, no matter what you play. To feel the speed of the air in your phrases as you're playing. you know, to really feel those things. And then, you know, for me, then that really started to translate into how I play every phrase I play. But it starts when you're playing alone. When you play alone, that's it, man. That's what's happening. You play alone most of your life, really, if you're serious. As much as we heard Coltrane and all the records and all the gigs every night, he still played more alone than he did with anybody else. That's why when he played with other people, he was into some things, man. That's one thing about -1 records and practice and playing along with all that stuff. That's okay for a party, but you're not going to get yourself together playing those things, that stuff. You have to practice alone in a room, man, and hear your tone. My father would practice, man, he would vibrate the house when I was a kid. You know, before, you know, and as he was showing me how to put the reed on my mouthpiece, you know, he did, man, the walls would be shaking. He'd just be trying to read, ready to go to the gig, you know. Is there another question? You know, I don't know. I do a lot of workshops, and I hear a lot of young players, and I think most of the young players are starting to realize a lot more about these approaches, about, you know, being yourself and trying to live a lifetime in music. You have to try to say something beyond a technique. Anybody could play great. What does playing great mean? You know, you want to, I don't know, you want to play beautiful somehow. You know, and there's a lot of music, you know, that is based on real techno patternistic things, which you can play on and hit a groove and still play beautiful, I think. You don't have to sound like the boy next door. Like in pop music and in a lot of real contemporary music today, with all these reality shows, and it's all about the boy and the girl next door. They're the ones that, you know, but they're here today, gone tomorrow. You know, I mean, to really, I don't know, to develop in the music, you got to find yourself. And by studying patterns and all those books is going to teach you a lot about your horn and about what it means to play like that. And that, hopefully, you could step through that. The players that step through it and have their own way of playing will live a lifetime in the music, really. I don't know. You know? Well,
That's
thanks.
a great answer.
I don't know. Thank you. Thanks for being here, you know. Okay, we're gonna play one more.